This is a warning. The Grim Reaper of radio, Bob Romanik, with his off-the-record show is about to air. He's probably the nastiest and craziest son of a bitch that you've ever had the misfortune to encounter. The Grim Reaper show will be very controversial and probably quite tasteless. If you are even slightly offended by controversial matter concerning religion, racial matters, politics, or life's problems, you are hereby warned to turn this program off immediately. The Grim Reaper show will be, like his face, very scary and very ugly. At this time, not proudly, but shamefully presents to you Bob Romanik, the craziest son of a bitch on the radio today.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, your guardian of the First Amendment, Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot. Good Thursday morning. We're going to forego our normal routine today. And I want to put this disclaimer out. With us today is, in my opinion, a great leader of the law enforcement community. And he's here not to endorse me, not to agree with anything I say, not to agree with this station, not to endorse this station. This gentleman has taken time out of his very, very, very busy schedule to be transparent to the people that he serves. And I thank him for that. So you guys know how I go. I go a little crazy, talk politics, but out of respect for this gentleman, there'll be no politics because he's not a politician. He's a public servant, a true public servant. And I want to introduce to you the man of the hour. It's his 5th year anniversary as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois. A man of the people, and I mean that seriously. I've watched him. I've been an ex-policeman, and I've been on the other side of the law. This man is fair. He's honest. He's done a job that we can all be proud of. I'd like to introduce to you at this time and congratulate him on 5 very, very successful years as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois, Mr. Steve Wyatt Earp Wigington. Mr. Wigington, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thank you so much for that warm and welcome introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you, my friend, and it's a privilege to serve as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois and serving the 38 counties and the 1.3 million people that reside within those 38 counties. It's truly been an honor and a privilege to serve in this capacity over the past 5 years.
Well, you know, Mr. Wigington, I want to tell you, I'd first like to thank you for taking very, very limited time out. We've got an hour, and I know you're going to enlighten us on what's been going on in the Southern District of Illinois. It's your 5th year, and again, I want to congratulate you. Again, I've been a chief of police, been a homicide detective, I've been in federal prison, and I mean this, I've never witnessed a U.S. attorney that's been as fair and honest. And I don't have to say that because I've done something wrong. I'm going to try to get on your good side. I'm saying that because I'm being truthful. I've talked with a lot of people, and I've been involved, and I'm still around law enforcement. And you have done nothing but gain respect from everybody in the Southern District of Illinois because you're a hands-on state's attorney. You're a hands-on state's attorney. And I don't know what your philosophy is, but I see all these cases that you handle, and you guys handle a zillion of them. We get copies of everything. People don't understand how busy your office is. But I think, and I don't know how to word this, I think you care about punishment for the crime, not devastating someone's life. And I sincerely appreciate that because there's a lot of prosecutors that want to load on and load on and load on, and people have to get back. And you can't just think, and I think you've said that before, I've heard you say that before, that you got to think about the families of the
Bob,
perpetrators.
You're right. I mean, the philosophy, you ask about the philosophy, and, I said this 5 years ago when I was nominated by the president. I mean, the role of the prosecutor is not to seek a conviction. The role of the prosecutor is to seek the truth and to seek justice. And you should be doing an individualized assessment of each and every person that you confront. You, as a United States attorney, or any prosecutor for that matter, I don't care if you're a brand new assistant state's attorney in a local state's attorney's office. If your goal is to put people in prison for as long as you possibly can, then you really should not be given the power to do that.
Good point.
You should not have the power to charge someone and to put them behind bars and take away their liberty if that's your philosophy. Because what I look for in people is good judgment. When I look to hire assistant U.S. attorneys, I'll have a stack of 100 resumes from some of the brightest minds across the country. And I'll whittle that down to 20, but I tell them, and I'll have that stack of 20 on the table when I'm doing an interview, and I'll say, look, I got 20 resumes here. Every one of these people are from top-notch law schools. They're all great people. They're all smart as hell. I said, but everybody's smart. I'm looking for people with good judgment.
That's a good point. Good point, because a lot of people are smart, but they're idiots.
Well, under this administration, under Attorney General Eric Holder, who started this in May of 2010, he changed the concept of what a federal prosecutor should be doing in terms of we now are required, and we did this before, to do an individualized assessment of each and every person that we are investigating and charging. What is the appropriate charge? What is the appropriate disposition? And we look at that very carefully. There is no person indicted in the Southern District of Illinois over the last 5 years that I have not personally reviewed and signed off on. I require that in my office, that I have to sign off on each and every indictment package that we present to the grand jury.
Well, then your $200,000 a year salary, you're working for about $10 an hour when it's all said when it's all said and done.
Bob, I wish my salary was $200,000. It's not.
Well, since I broached that subject, what does the U.S. attorney make?
I think this year it is $157,000.
And here's what I'd say to that. Being an ex-legal investigator, I want to doubly salute you, because I know a man of your caliber, legal caliber and stature, you can make 3 times as much, 4 times as much, and apparently to you, it's about serving your country than grabbing the buck. And and if people, you think about it, this gentleman here, and he's been a very, very good attorney on the outside, and I don't know how much he could make, $500,000-$600,000 a year. That's average. And you're doing this for $150,000. I want to salute you once again for giving us not only our money's worth, but you're losing money at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a nice salary, but I can tell you this: I made a lot more money when I was in private practice than what I'm making now. But that's one of the benefits. It allowed me the opportunity to do this job. And still raise a family.
Yeah. I want to, Mr. Wigington, I know the kind of guy you are. I've read all about you. I've heard about you. And I congratulated you on 5 years. And I know during break you're going to get mad and say, why didn't you congratulate my staff, my office staff, and everybody that's helped me out, because that's the kind of guy you are. So I want to congratulate not only you, but your entire office staff for the United States Attorney's Office, the FBI, because I know you're a team player, and I didn't want you to get the wrath because I forgot to do that.
Well, thanks, Bob. Actually, being the United States Attorney is like being a head football coach. You get too much credit when things are good, and you get too much blame when things go bad.
Right.
But all of the great things that the United States Attorney's Office has done over the 5 years is because it's a team. And I told my staff yesterday, I thank each and every person in my office, whatever their job is in my office, whether it's reception, whether it's clerical, whether it's an attorney. Everybody is a team player and contributes to the success, because the success is making sure that we obtain justice for the citizens of Southern Illinois and for all of the citizens of this great nation. I have a wonderful executive assistant, Karen Harriman, who keeps me... Beautiful lady. Yeah, she's a beautiful lady inside and out.
Okay.
And and I'm just fortunate. I have a wonderful family, wonderful wife, Kathy, and kids, Stephanie and Nick. Hello, kids. I know my dad, Ben, is an avid listener of your program.
Well, sir, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Wigington, not only do you have an intelligent son, I can tell where the intelligence comes from. Thank you very much. And, sir, Mr. Wigington, the real Mr. Wigington from Troy, thank you very much for taking the time, sir, to listen. Mr. Wigington, before we talk some serious issues, I don't know if you're the first U.S. attorney. I know the politicians, and you're a public servant by all means. Politicians always have golf tournaments to support their cause. Now, I don't know, are you the first U.S. attorney in this district that's ever had a golf tournament? But I know the money that you raise is to help law enforcement throughout the Southern District of Illinois. And I, again, being an ex-police officer, want to salute you because most U.S. attorneys don't want to get involved with the local law enforcement, but you get highly involved with local law enforcement.
Well, one of the advantages I have when I came into this job 5 years ago was that I was the first locally homegrown United States attorney. So I grew up my entire life in the Metro East area, practiced law in both St. Clair and Madison County, was a prosecutor in Madison County State's Attorney's Office. So I knew a lot of local law enforcement. Being the city attorney of Troy and Maryville and Freeburg and working for Glen Carbon, I knew a lot of the local police departments. So that gave me a great advantage. And what I did, Bob, 5 years ago, honestly, when I came into this job, is I went to all the police chiefs. I would go to the town and meet with them and say, you know, this is a new day. This is a new dawn. We are not the feds who sit on the temple up high. We are equals. We are partners. We are no better than you, and we're no worse than you. And we have to do things as task force here, Bob. We do not have a 1,000-member police department like the St. Louis Metropolitan Police or St. Louis County. So in order to fight violent crime, in order to fight drug cartels who are trying to penetrate our district, you know, we have to do that as task force and with partners.
Mr. Wigington, before we take a break, I want to talk about a little bit, we've got a little bit of time yet, the public corruption, and that's near and dear to my heart, and you being a public servant, you know, you gotta, I would think, teeter on a tightrope, because these politicians, everybody knows how they try to put pressure on the governor, on the president. But I'll tell you what, and again, and I've followed your 5-year career, you have stood up, because I know there's decisions you made that weren't really popular with some political people. But I want to again salute you for that, because this political corruption is near and dear to my heart. We talk about it every day here. But can we discuss somewhat of as much as you can? I know there's certain things you can't say, but can you give us and every listener in the Southern District of Illinois a little insight to this public corruption? And again, we all want to salute you, because there's been U.S. attorneys in the past that would take the personalities, take the political people, and not worry about them. But I think you've done your job. I don't think you care about a name, about a party affiliation. You care about the truth and justice. And again, we want to salute you for that.
Well, thanks, Bob. Yeah, we take public corruption very seriously. That's an area where we have what's called a substantial federal interest, both in local, municipal, state, and federal politics. We must have confidence in the officials that we elect in this country. And we have a public corruption task force. We work closely with FBI and IRS and other agencies, and we've been very successful in the cases that we've brought. We've been, when I came into this position 5 years ago, about 12% of our office docket was what was considered fraud and corruption, or what's commonly referred to as white collar. And a small part of that was public corruption. Now, 5 years later, 31% of our docket is fraud and corruption. So I greatly ramped that up over the last 5 years. And, you know, the proof's in the pudding of the fact that I don't care about what party you belong to. I don't care, you know, what your connections are politically.
We can tell that.
I just follow the facts and the law, and wherever that takes me, that's where we go.
I want to say this. I want to say this, and I mean this. You've taken down some bums with badges. I know you're strictly for law enforcement, and I heard one time somebody said, he's messing with the police officers. I said, no, he's not messing with the police officers. He's messing with the bums with badges, because he respects the professional law enforcement community, and he wants to weed out the corruption. And Mr. Wigington, I think every professional police officer would want to thank you, because you have separated the good guys from the bad guys instead of just letting it go. And I think the professional law enforcement community owes you some gratitude for what you've done.
Well, thanks, Bob. But actually, I think the public in general owes a big thank you to all of law enforcement. I think over the past year, law enforcement has gotten a bad rap. I think certain cases that have happened across the nation that are awful and they're tragic have put a poor light on law enforcement in general. I think that's wrong. I think the vast majority of law enforcement officers wake up every day. These men and women put on their uniforms and they're out there putting their lives on their line. It could be a next traffic stop where they're in danger. So I think we owe local law enforcement a big thank you. They do serve and protect, but there are bad ones, and the bad ones that we look for. We locate, we investigate, and then we hopefully put them away. And, I know just off the top of my head, we have taken down the chief of detectives of East St. Louis, Orlando Ward. We took down the chief of detectives of Washington Park, Kim McAfee. We took down Corey Allen, the assistant police chief in Centerville. I lost count of how many police officers we've convicted, and we work closely with Brendan Kelly, who's a fabulous partner, a great friend in the St. Clair County State's Attorney's Office. He's been very aggressive in using the official misconduct statute in areas where we might not have a strong case. So together with Brendan Kelly, I think we've tried to help clean up some of these troubled police departments.
Yeah, well, you're not giving yourself, enough credit. You've raised the bar, Mr. Wigington, and you know that. You've raised the bar that all these prosecutors in your district, of the Southern District of Illinois, they know you're about business. And I think they wanted to be about business, but in the past, there's been a lot of politics played. And I think the biggest thing that I can salute you for, you've been fair and honest with everybody. You haven't played politics. You've been a true public servant. And you won't get in contact with a lot of people, but I do when we talk about law enforcement. And they always give you the kudos because they think you're fair, think you're honest, and you're not a politician, and that's what we want to keep out of law enforcement and the prosecutor's office. We want to get people that are concerned about the community in general, who want to be fair, and I think you've deserved and earned that title.
Yeah. Well, I work with great prosecutors in my office, and these are career federal prosecutors. And quite honestly, Bob, politics never come up in the United States Attorney's Office. We do not discuss politics. I couldn't tell you what the political background, how most of my people feel. And I can tell you, we never take politics into consideration when we're identifying a target of investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's never an issue that even comes up.
Well, that's good for everybody, though. That just keeps it out of the office completely. And before we take a break, Mr. Wigington, let's get back to your golf tournament. Can anybody, and I know you're not soliciting funds, but there's people that want to get involved to help the law enforcement community. How can we, if we can discuss that, if we can, I understand, but if we can, how can people get involved in the golf tournament?
Well, it was 5 years ago, Bob, that actually it was with the assistance of my executive assistant, Karen Harriman, and her husband, Brad Harriman, that we thought, how can we raise money for local law enforcement? A lot of these local police departments don't have the money to send their police officers to professional training out of state. So we came up with this idea to hold an annual golf tournament called the Red, White, and Blue Classic, and it's October 1st. It's the first Thursday of each October. This will be the fifth one, and it's at Tamarack Golf Course. It's a wonderful event, and if anybody wants to sponsor, they can contact Karen Harriman at my office, 628-3700. or they can contact you, Bob. You've been a great supporter of local law enforcement. We appreciate all your support.
Well, thank you, sir.
And every dime, as you know, Bob, every dime goes back to local law enforcement. We send people on training. What we really need, Bob, is I really want to use this money to help build an infrastructure of good police departments that have forensic training, because almost every crime now involves a computer,
right,
or a cell phone.
I want to talk about, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about, and I don't believe this figure, and you're going to have to verify it. I was told through good sources that I think your budget's $5-6 million a year. Someone told me, and we'll leave it in suspense until after the break. Someone told me that your office has recouped and brought back to all of the citizens of this great United States, and especially the Southern District of Illinois, approximately $500 million. And we'll talk about that right after this break. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, and proud to be your First Amendment and all-American station, Radical Radio, and we stand tall as the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do?
You know what you're gonna do when Steve White Earp Wigington, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois, comes after you? You're in trouble. With me, again, Mr. Steve White Earp Wigington, and I say White Earp, I coined that phrase because this guy came to town and kicked some butt. Out of respect for Mr. Wigington, I won't use my normal language, but it is an honor and a privilege to have a gentleman that represents this great United States, represents this great country of ours, to be appointed the U.S. Attorney and not sit up in the ivory tower and not be a big shot. He has a suit on today, but normally I'm sure he doesn't. He's out there with all, when I would say it's not a very expensive suit, but I know he's trying to say, no, I'm going to get in trouble here. But
Hey, Bob, I work for the government.
Oh, okay. Oh, see, there you go. See, I made a point here. But no, Mr. Wigington, seriously, it is an honor and a privilege. You have fought, and I'll bring it up again. You were a private attorney, and I don't know what you were making, but I know you were very, very successful. For you to take the time out of your life to take at least 5 years, and again, congratulations for you and your staff on this 5th-year anniversary, and I feel privileged that you were here on your anniversary date. For you to take 5 years out of your life, at least 5, I don't know where you're going from here. I hope you stick around for 20. But to take those years out of your life and to give back to the community, and you are truly a public servant. And I want to ask you this one question. Tell me it ain't so. I'd say Joe, but that's not your name. Tell me it's not so. Has your office under your administration recouped for the taxpayers? And we love this. I love this. Have you recouped about $500 million? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true, Bob. We actually, it's one of the things that goes unnoticed. Every U.S. Attorney's Office has 2 divisions. They have a criminal division and a civil division. And I'm really, really proud of our civil division. It's led by my civil chief, Jerry Burke, who is a career assistant U.S. attorneys, an outstanding attorney, and it's very important that we protect every dollar from the taxpayers. We have collected. I ask my staff to give me these numbers because our fiscal year is coming up on September 30th. And as of July 31, 2015, over the last 5 years, we collected to the United States Treasury, deposited $458 million. Now, my budget is $6 million a year for me to run this office. I get about $6 million to run this office. I've got 65 employees, so I'm basically the managing partner of a large law firm with a lot of power. And so that's a pretty good return on investment when the taxpayers have paid the United States Attorney's Office $30 million, but we've recovered $458 million.
You know what, Mr. Wigington, you're glad we don't have the promo "Hail to the Chief," because I think people, did you hear that? The gentleman's office, it cost $6 million and he brought in $485 million. This gentleman needs to be drafted for the President of the United States. You could turn this country around, in a matter of 6 months. But on a serious note,
maybe that's down the road, Bob. But like this year alone, just as of July 31. Our criminal division has recovered $8.5 million. And our civil division has recovered for the taxpayers $44.5 million. So we're about $52.5 million. And again, my budget is $6 million. So we bring in 10 times the amount of our cost.
There it goes. That's the draft, Mr. Wigington.
Everybody else is running for president.
Throw your head. But seriously, Mr. Wigington. Okay, let's cut that. Now, you said criminal forfeiture and civil. Can you distinguish? To me, I don't understand. What's the criminal money? Is that fine money, and the forfeiture civilly is property? What's the difference?
No, it's not forfeiture. What we spend a lot of our time on is going after corporations and individuals who defraud the government through, for example, hospitals, doctors, insurance companies that do false billing for Medicare or Medicaid. We do defense contracting fraud. We are very active in that area because Scott Air Force Base is the headquarters of the United States Transportation Command. So every single item that has been shipped via boat, train, tractor trailer, or air is arranged logistically through United States Transportation Command at Scott Air Force Base. That means every one of those contracts that we enter into to supply goods and services to our troops in Afghanistan or Iraq or other areas, the African continent, that contract is venued in Southern Illinois. So I can go after those defense contractors that defraud us. And we've been very successful in that area. We, in one case alone, we recovered $31 million this year from a defense contractor who was overcharging the taxpayers for the work they were performing. And we've done another case for about $4.5 million. They're very interesting cases. You don't realize how much it costs to go to war. It costs about $1 trillion a year.
Right.
And a good portion of that, remember the False Claims Act that we use, the statute that we use to go after defense contractors or healthcare contractors, that it was created after the Civil War because defense contractors were ripping off the Union. And so they passed the False Claims Act in 1865. It's the same statute that we use today.
Yeah. I got to tell you, and I'm overwhelmed with that figure. I just wish, and I know you guys put out press releases, you don't want to blow your own horn, but I don't think, other than today, on my show, I don't think anybody really understood the economic benefit of your office. But now I think they do, and that is overwhelming that in 5 years that you have brought in through the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I have to say with the help of your staff, because I'm sure you'll be mad if I don't, that $500 million, and I get around, I'm a radio guy, I get around, I'm a news guy. I did not know that, and I don't think the good people listening ever understood until now what kind of job you guys do, not just keeping the criminals off the street, but recouping money for the federal government.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the criminal side of the house gets all the publicity.
Right.
The civil side of the house does not get the credit they deserve. The civil side of the house, we are charged with the duty of protecting the United States in court, defending the Constitution and enforcing the Constitution and enforcing civil statutes. So we oftentimes act as the plaintiff's attorney. We are suing these corporations that are ripping off the American taxpayer, and we do so successfully.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Your organized crime and your drug cartel cases and your heroin overdose, they're all related to illegal drug activity. And people today, they love to hear about drug arrests because the drug culture, and I don't have to tell you, you witness this better than anybody, is really helping to destroy the core of our great country. And you guys down in southern Illinois, Mr. Wigington, isn't it prevalent a lot more drugs down in the southern part of Illinois than up here, or is it?
No, it's unfortunately it's prevalent throughout all 38 counties.
Okay.
What we see in what I call the deep southern part of our state. So I have 38 counties at 1.3 million people. About 700,000 of them live right here in St. Clair, Madison, Monroe, Randolph.
Right.
When you get down around Carbondale, Benton, Harrisburg, the most prevalent drug in deep southern Illinois is methamphetamine. The most prevalent drug we see abused in the Metro East area is prescription drugs and heroin. Unfortunately, those are just becoming epidemic in terms of overdoses and overdose deaths. And so we really don't see as much cocaine as we once did. That's been replaced by opiate-based drugs, which includes Vicodin, hydrocodone, Oxycontin. And then what happens, and I've talked to dozens of heroin addicts, how did you get started on heroin? And time again, whether they're rich or poor, whether they're predominantly white males, but we're seeing an increasing number of females, they say that I got hooked on prescription pain medication, and but heroin became cheaper and easier to get.
You're kidding me. It's in this area, it's still prevalent as the day goes on, or are you fighting it enough where you can see a decrease in the heroin traffic?
Well, unfortunately, it's increasing no matter what our efforts. Bob, this nation and the Mexican drug cartels, they're smart businessmen. They're not what is portrayed in the movies or television, living in dirt poor villages. I mean, these are professional organizations that recruit some of the top business people who want to engage in this. The drug cartels operate like businesses. They targeted our nation a decade ago because our nation became awash in prescription pain medication. Every doctor and dentist and anybody with a script writing ability writes scripts for Oxycontin or Vicodin, any opiate-based pain medication, in numbers that you cannot believe. And so when they saw the natural entry, when the drug cartel saw the natural entry, the pathway was, or gateway, what you hear, is if we've got this nation already hooked on opiate-based pain medication, well, why don't we ship them heroin? Because that's our biggest profit margin drug.
And that's what they do.
And that's what's happened.
You talk about white-collar crime. Percentage-wise, I don't know, the white-collar crime, I guess, is a non-violent. What is the percentage, or do you know it? I'm just asking, you may not know it off the top of your head. The white-collar crime, as opposed to the violent crime, what is the percentages your office handles either way?
Yeah, we follow this. Actually, we track it monthly, and I track it in Washington, D.C. We look at our cases every month, and I about every year, well, the last 2 years are what I call is white-collar crime, which I don't like to use that. I call it fraud and corruption and thievery.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
Yeah, it makes up about 30%. Violent crime makes up about 35%, and then drugs make up about 30%. That's usually how it breaks down. It used to be much more heavily on drugs, but I've made a concerted effort over the last 5 years to put more emphasis on going after the fraud and the corruption So where it was 12% 5 years ago, now it's about 30% of our office work.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Mr. Wigington, I'd like to talk about your felony reentry program because that's kind of near and dear to my heart. We'll be back right after this break. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, very proud to be the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do?
You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna get the long arm of the law, Mr. Steve White Earp Wigington. That's what you're gonna get. Again, with me, and it is an honor and a privilege, and we salute him in his office for 5 great years as a U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois. We've got an hour show. We're going to go over a little bit. Mr. Wigington graciously enough said, hey, Bob, if you want to take callers, I don't want to duck anybody's call. I want to be transparent, and I'd love to do that, but we don't have quite that much time. Maybe next time we'll invite Mr. Wigington in, and he can field all the calls because I think he's ready for them. I think he could stand tall on any question, but we just don't have the time. Mr. Wigington, I wanted to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart. All my listeners know that I'm an ex-chief of police, ex-homicide detective in East St. Louis, and an ex-con. And when I heard that you started this felony reentry program, or whatever you label it, that you want to try to bring the felons back into the community, I talked with a guy at a tavern. He said, you know what, I miss Mr. Wigington. I met Mr. Wigington, and I told him I was a felon, and he said, Mr. Wigington took out his hand, shook my hand, and says, welcome back. And I sincerely, as an ex-felon, appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Bob. You know, the nation has to realize that, you know, we have 2.1 million people incarcerated. We have 217,000 just in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And 95% of those people are coming back to community after they've served their time and paid their dues to the justice system. And what are we going to do with those individuals? You know, I believe that everybody deserves a second chance. Now, not very violent people or people that hurt children, but for the most part, the vast majority of our people that go to prison are drug-related or fraud and corruption. But let's talk about those individuals that are coming back. We need to help them. We need to help them return as citizens. And what we've done over the last 5 years is worked hard to establish a reentry program where we work closely with Magistrate Judge Donald Wilkerson, who created this program actually before I did. In terms, it's called the CAP program. And it's the Court Assistance Program, where we identify those individuals that are returning from the Federal Bureau of Prison that are on supervised release, that are high risk for reoffending or for failing. And we have about a dozen of those at a time that we meet with monthly, try to help them get jobs, help them get driver's license, help them just get back into society. What we want is we want everybody to come back, and we want to help them become productive taxpayers citizens that can contribute to society. And I truly believe in second chances. I've not met a perfect person. I'm not a perfect person, and I believe everybody needs a second chance. And I really have tried, Bob, to impress upon area business owners that just because somebody has a felony conviction in their past doesn't mean they're a bad person or a bad employee. In fact, they may be your best employee because they're on supervised release.
And they're going to try harder.
Because they appreciate the job more.
Right. Nate, when I got out, Mr. Wigington, when I got out of prison, I'd seen you around. You've never ducked me. You didn't duck me on the show when I asked you if you would come on and be transparent to the people. And I'm saying this from my heart. I appreciate you. When I come up to you, shake my hand, it's not like, hey, I'm shaking a piece of crap's hand. And to a man, that means a lot. And I want to personally want to thank you for that.
Well, thanks, Bob. I honestly, this is a big part of the job that I enjoy, quite honestly. I enjoy helping people. A big part of my job is putting people behind bars, but also, reach out, give a hand and help somebody up. If our nation as a whole did that more often, if we cared more about one another and put a hand out to help somebody, we'd all be better off.
Very well said. Mr. Wigington, can we talk about your community outreach program? I've heard a whole hell of a lot good about that. Can you kind of explain to our listeners what that is?
Yes, Bob. As I started off your show, my philosophy on prosecution is you're not just a case processor. That file in front of you, that's a human being. That's an individual.
Good point.
It's not just a case. And so I tell all of my prosecutors, look, you're not just a case processor. You got to change that mentality, that thinking. We're community problem solvers. And so we need to be out in the community. And that's one thing that I've spent a ton of time on, a lot of time at night, a lot of time on weekends, just going to community outreach. One of the favorite things that I do in this job is, we man a soup bus, a pizza bus. It's a converted school bus, converted into a dining car. And for $100, and that's what it takes, $100, we buy Little Caesars pizzas, fruit and vegetables, and we go feed about 100 kids in the Gompers projects in East St. Louis. And I've been doing this for 5 years, and I've never highlighted it because it's just one of the things I love to do. And I've watched some of these little kids, grow up with me, and they call me Mr. Steve. And Karen, my assistant, goes with me, and I've got two great AUSAs, Suzanne Garrison and Allie Summers and Laura Jones, they volunteer regularly. So it's one of the things we like. But, also, Bob, going back to the heroin, in March 17th, 2011, 4 years ago, that we recognized this heroin crisis. And we have spoke to over 12,000 students in high school, middle school, doing heroin presentations with the DEA and with mothers of who have lost their children to heroin. So it's a very important part of the job, I believe, for any prosecutor's office.
Yeah. I see, again, and I want to emphasize this. You talked about the $500 million. You talked about the felony reentry program, that I'm a felon. You talk about going to the Gompers and the homes in East St. Louis, and I'm a poor boy from the Roosevelt homes. And, without you coming on, and I sincerely appreciate that, I would have never known that. But you actually go down in the communities, St. Louis, and take pizzas. Is that true? I know you're not lying.
Yeah,
but
it's absolutely true. I love it. We have seen a huge change in the safety of public housing in East St. Louis. We created a public housing task force inside my office, led by Terry Delaney, the former U.S. Marshal, who's done a wonderful job. And when I took this job 5 years ago, you go into public housing like the John DeShields projects or the Gompers homes, and it looked like a carnival at night. Everybody's out dope smoking, open drinking, cussing, loud music. Now you go down there and it's all cleared out. Nobody's out there. Kids are playing on the playground. And Karen has been with me many times where I walk through the Gompers at night, and I've actually walked kids back to their houses to make sure they get home safely.
Yeah. Now, people out there listening, you know why I call him Wyatt Earp Wigington. You got more guts in that packing house, Mr. Wigington, and I mean that sincerely. But again, that's what and after talking to you for this hour, that's what I like most about you. You're a people person. You're not one of these guys, and everybody knows what I'm talking about, that's got a big title and got a big head to go along with it. You've got a big title, but you've got a big heart to go along with it, and I sincerely appreciate that. What's in your future, Mr. Wigington? I want to congratulate you and your staff, Mrs. Karen Harriman, and I want to say a shout out to her husband, Brad, because he's a great guy, and I know he's part of your inner structure with the golf tournament. But I hope you stick around. If you can get us $500 million, I'm gonna get my handcuffs that they put on me years back and put them on you and keep you up in the U.S. Attorney's office.
Well, I wish I worked for a percentage or a contingent fee like I did in private practice.
Well, there you go.
Then I'd probably stay a long time. But we've got a lot of things on our platter right now at our office. We're nearing our fiscal year end. Our fiscal year ends September 30th, and so what we do at this time of year each year is we reevaluate where we are. Where are we positioning? It's kind of like cooking, Bob. Where do we want to turn up the heat, and who do we want to turn it up on, or what program do we want to turn it up on?
Yeah.
And we're going through that process right now, and we'll be doing that for the next month. And we will evaluate where we are, and then I'll evaluate what I want to do here in the near future. I mean, this administration's coming to an end. The elections are around the corner. I serve at the will of the president, so regardless of what I do, this administration ends January 20th of 2017. So I'm in the fourth quarter of my term, nearing the 2-minute warning. I've had a great ride. I enjoy the job. I hope I've served the people well. I hope the people are pleased with what I've done. But you can't please everybody, but I'm pleased with what I've done, and I think that's all that matters.
Well, I think no matter what you do, you've left, if you leave, and I hope you never leave, I think you've left the U.S. Attorney's Office in real good hands. You've left it really with a reputation, a stellar reputation, and whoever, when it happens, takes over for you ought to thank you, because you've got that plane, the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Illinois, you got that plane on autopilot. It should be easy flying when you leave.
Yeah, I've got great people there. I can't say enough good things about them, and I've been able to hire 9 assistant U.S. attorneys during my term. So that's going to be my legacy, the people I hire. And, you've mentioned big hearts. I think it's more important to have a big heart than a big title. And so I look for that when the people I hire, and I'm placing my trust in them that they'll carry on a lot of my philosophy and a lot of what I think is important as a prosecutor. I've told my staff time and time again, I never want this office to be known as the most harsh or the toughest prosecutor's office. I want it to be known as the most admired office. Like Forbes magazine or Business Week says most admired companies. I want the U.S. Attorney's Office to be the most admired prosecutor's office.
We're going to have to get out of here. We don't have a lot more time, but your parting thoughts for the good people of the Southern District of Illinois. Your little philosophy, your take, and the direction that you hope this great country goes.
Well, I just would encourage everyone to be kinder to one another, to help one another, and to get more involved. I mean, the more involved you are as a citizen, the better off we all are. And again, I don't care about what political party you belong to. I don't care what your political philosophy is. But get involved and help one another, and we'll all be better off. It's a great area. We're fortunate to live in the greatest nation on this earth, and we're blessed. So, I just want to do my job and do it well, and so I can look in the mirror and go look at my family and say hello to my lovely wife Kathy and my kids, and get on with life.
I'll tell you what, Steve White-Earp Wigington, we want to salute you here at KQQZ and all throughout the Southern District of Illinois. You've done an exceptionally good job. You've been a great man. Karen Harriman, his executive assistant, I know she's his right hand, and I want to salute her and everyone in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Mr. Steve White-Earp Wigington, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois. You've heard what he's about. You've heard what he's done, and you've heard the legacy when he does leave. Hopefully never, but when he does, the legacy he's going to leave with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Once again, Steve White-Earp Wigington, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois. Congratulations on five great years.
Thank you, Bob. It's been a pleasure being here with you. You're a good man, and you're a great supporter of law enforcement, and I appreciate your friendship.
I appreciate yours. Thank you very much, sir. Hey, we're going to have to go. What a great show. People, Now you understand what the U.S. Attorney's Office is about. This gentleman has taken his valuable time out to come on and be transparent to everyone in the Southern District of Illinois, because we reach far out south. Now you people know. Now it's not, they're doing this, they're doing that. You've heard all the positive, and the positive sure outweighs the negative. Once again, congratulations, Mr. Steve Wide-Earp Wigington, on 5 great years at the U.S. Attorney's Office. We got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you've been listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio. And we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot. Out of respect for Mr. Wigington and his office, we won't end with a political downgrade. We will say, it's great to be an American. Mr. Wigington, a proud American. We appreciate you. We appreciate this country. And if there is a God, we hope that God blesses America.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha. To the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time. And I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats. And they're coming to take me away, ha-ha.
The Patriot.
Your First Amendment and All-American station. A division of Insane Broadcasting. Renegade Radio.
KQQZ, St. Louis.